What's going on, guys? Welcome to the channel. Today we're going to create a Python script that uses Microsoft Graph API to download attachments in emails for Office 365 mailbox. So we're going to download attachments from a specific email. So the specific email is going to be based on the subject, the sender, and the date the email was received in our mailbox. Okay. So that is what we're going to do today. So to proceed, we need packages to work with. So we're going to work with MSR, we're going to work with JSON, and as well requests. So you need to have those packages installed in your system. The other thing, you need an app registration in Azure Active Directory. So, and the permission that we need to assign, it's mail.read, because we're just going to read users' mailbox. For this is just a specific user mailbox. So if I can just show you the permission that we require. So this is the application that I've registered in Azure. So you can see it's under app registration, and then we have the name of the app is change name. Don't worry about the name. And then we have API permission. So if you open the application and you head over to API permissions, here you can assign the permission for the app that you're going to use. So for my case, you can see I have a lot of permissions assigned. Don't worry about those. The only required permission for this project is just mail.read, and it's supposed to be an application-based permission. Okay. So that's what we need for in Azure AD. So the other, you just need the app secret. You can create the app secret, and then you grab the application client ID and the tenant ID from the overview page. Okay. So if I can just show you. So there we go. So under overview page, you can see the tenant ID, and also you will require the application client ID. This one, the directory is the tenant ID, and the other is secret. So certificates and secrets, you just need to come there, and you can create a secret, and then you copy paste the secret, not the secret ID, but the value of the secret to your application or to the script. So I've created 2 Python files in this folder or in my current working directory. So you can see I have credentials.py file, and I have the main.py. So under credentials.py, that's where I have my the tenant ID, I have the client ID, and as well the app secret. It's just a variable and the value for that and the value. So it's in this format. So tenant ID, and then you just in quotes you put in the tenant ID, whichever the tenant ID is. Once you have that, I'm just hiding for security purposes, so that's why I had to put it in another file. So I can just close the credentials, and then I imported that file. And then from here, I can access that. It's only 3 variables: the application client ID, tenant ID, and the app secret. Okay. So, and the main.py, the first thing as I told you, we need to import the packages that we're going to use. So the first thing should be the import. You can go with MSR. So if MSR is not installed, you can open the terminal and you just do Python. This is partial terminal. So Python, and then you do pip install MSR. That way. Or you can open command prompt as administrator, and you type in pip install MSR, and it will install the package for you. The next package that we need is import JSON, and then we're going to use requests. So you need also to import requests. So those are the three main packages that we need in this project. Next, we need to create a function that will generate the token for us. So the MSR will help in getting the token from our app registration, okay? So we can define the function. So just add a comment and type in function to generate access token. So we need a token that we will use when we are doing the API call in Microsoft Graph API, okay? So I'm going just to define the function as define get underscore access token. Sorry, it's supposed to be like that. So that is our function. So it's going to take in tenant ID. And then now I need to pass in the tenant ID. My tenant ID is in the credentials.py file. So to get that, since I had already imported the file, I can grab the tenant ID as credentials.tenant ID, just like that. And if I do print passing the tenant ID to see if it's there, come here and do Python. Actually, it's there. Sorry. Python main. And then what is wrong? Python, just over main.py. It's not returning anything, something weird here. Oh, I know why. I know why we are getting nothing. Sorry. So we need to call the function. So if you need to access it, so I just need to call the function like that. Okay. And then if I type in like that, now we can get it. So we have a tenant ID there returned. So we can note that now we're able to get the tenant ID from the other file where it's stored. Okay. So I can just get rid of the function call and also the print here. And then we continue adding the other variables. So authority is going to take in the URL for Microsoft Online. So it is usually HTTPS login.microsoft. Supposed to be microsoftonline.com/. This is supposed to be in single quotes like that. So it is login microsoftonline.com, and then now plus the tenant ID. So we pass in the tenant ID like that. Okay. The other should be client ID. So we're going to define another object called client ID. And here we're going to call credentials dot app client ID. That's the name of that object that is within credentials.py. The next object should be client secret. Client secret supposed to be in that format, and then going to have credentials dot app secret, like that. So moving down, we have scope. Scope is going to take in HTTPS, so it's supposed to be HTTPS graph now. So we're calling graph dot Microsoft.com. So this is static information, so you just need to type it the way it is. So default, like that. Next, now we're going to use the MSR package to get the access token. So app is equal to MSR, supposed to be MSR.com configuration client. See, sorry, not confidential client application, which is going to take in client ID, authority, which is now authority. It's going to get the authority that you have defined there at the top. So authority is equals to this one. And then it's going also to take in the client credentials. So client credential, client credential, not with S, credential, that's the correct. So the credential is supposed to be now the app secret. So client secret, like that. Let me just wrap this so that we can have a full view of everything. So like that looks okay. Next, we're going to define an object that's now we're going to pass in the scope. So access token. So app, it has a function called acquire token. I'm not wrong. It's supposed to be acquire token for client. And then this accepts scope. And then you pass in scope. Scopes, and then now scope, the URL for the graph. Next, we need to return the token now. Access token, return the access token, just like that. And our function is done. So we need to call it and then now test if we can get the access token. So to call the function, I'm going to create an object. And then call it access token. We could get just the same name. And then call it now the function. It's supposed to be get access token, like that. Doesn't have any parameters or arguments. So token, it's going to be access token. And then now we access that variable for access token. Not variable, sorry. Key. The key for access token. And then now we can print the token to see what we have. So it will be token. Now we can run off file, Python main.py, enter. And then there we go, guys. We have the access token. So it's that huge. So we have a function in place to get the access token. So the next thing is to define the criteria or how we want to get that specific email. So I said we need to filter email based on the date that it was received, the main subject, the sender, and the mail send, and also the mailbox, the specific email, or sorry, the specific mailbox that we're going to search in O365. So I have an account which has a mailbox. So I'm just going to use my account for the testing purposes. Okay. So I have this mailbox here in O365 within my tenant, and I'm just going to send a test email from Gmail. So I'm going to compose a new email and call it, I'm going to type in my email address. So it's supposed to be Bernard Mensah at bernardcoms.onmicrosoft.com. That looks okay. The subject of the email is going to be let me just Python script to download email attachments as the correct spelling. Okay, so I'm just going to type in find attached, and then I'm going to choose the files that I'm going to share. So I can just head over to downloads and then choose an image. So pumps is an image, and also inside this folder I have a file there. So I'll open that. So that is a CSV file, and the other downloads, and then I choose an image now. And then I can share those two files. I can send. I should be able to receive. Just give it some time. Okay, there we go. I've already received the email. So this is what we're going to work with. So we're going to use the Python script to download that image and this file, this CSV file. So we have our attachment there. Sorry, we have our subject there. We have our attachment and also the date, the email that has been received. So in guess is today. So next, what we're going to do is to define the criteria that we're going to use to search the mailbox. So we're going to, the first object is going to be date received. I'm going to define it. So it's going to be 2023. And then here goes the month. Feb 04. So in the middle is the month, and then you have the date in that format. Next is the mail subject. I'm going to pass in the email subject. So we can just go back and copy that subject there. And we can paste it there. Next is the mail sender, person who send the email. Also, we're going to grab that email here Control C and Control V. There we go. Next is the mail user. Mail user, this is object that is going to host the account that you're going to search. So I'm searching my mailbox in Office 365. So my email is Bernard comes, sorry, at Bernard.com on Microsoft.com. So yours can be in the different domain rather than the Microsoft default domain that comes with the tenant. So with that, we're going to filter for email that was delivered on this date. And also the subject is this, and it came from this user inside this Office 365 mailbox user. So that is our search criteria. Next now is the API call. So we're going to construct the URL that we're going to make the API call. So I can just add a comment here, API call URL. So I'm just going to define URL object pair. So the way it usually looks like, it's I don't know why that is. Okay, cool. So URL it is usually HTTPS. You have colon /, then it's graph.microsoft.com and then / the version of the API. So we're using version 1.0, and then we need users, and then from here we can pass in the account. So I'm going to use the f string in Python. So it looks something like that, if I'm not wrong. Or I can just use the format or f string. F string is much easier. Okay, cool. So the user. So we pass in there. So the user is going to be the account that I'm going to search. So I'm going to pass in the variables of mail, mail user, like that. And then /, we need messages. So we are going to search all messages in that mailbox. That's why we didn't verify, we didn't like add the mail folder. So I've just, if you want to search specific mail folder, you have to go to / and then you can add mail folder, and then now the name of the folder, inbox, and then now like that. But for my case, I'm just going to search everything through the mailbox, so all the messages. So here we need to add a filter. So how you filter email based on certain criteria in the API call, you just need to specify the filter object. And then for the source, so where the email came from, is going to be, we're going to use starts with. So starts with. And then now we need to pass in what is required from email address, / and then address. If you want to just learn more about this filter, it's in Microsoft documentation. I'll show you later on how they have defined. So they usually like show you how you can do the filtering, and then now you can go and customize it the way you want it. Okay. So if you want to filter email based on the email source, so that's how you should add the filter. So filters starts with, and then now you specify the from email address. That's how it looks like. And then you have to comma there, we have it. And then now we specify our curly braces, which is supposed to be a string. Inside a string. And then here we can pass in the mail sender like that. So that is the first filter criteria. Next, we're going to specify and subject equal a string there. So it's our string inside curly braces. Curly braces inside inside a single quote. And then now there we can pass in the mail subject. Simple as that, nothing difficult here. Next, supposed to be end received. Date, time. So receive date, time, GEG for greater or equal. And here is the tricky one. Here we don't specify the date with a single curly brace, so that doesn't turn it into a string. Here we need to specify now the mail, sorry, not mail, but date received, like that. Okay, just by that, we are done. We are done with our filter. So we can test to see if we can be able to get. Now we can run the request to see if we can get that content back from our API call. If you want to do something like to select something such that doesn't return everything, you just need to select some results from the result returned from the API call. So you can just do select thing there, and then it will just grab you the information that you specifically you need. But for my case, I'm okay with that. We can go with that. So next is to define the headers that we're going to add in our query or in our request when you're doing the request to the API. So I just need to define an headers object there. Which is going to take in authorization. And then here we have nav string. Just the way Microsoft defines it, it takes in a bearer. And then we have our token there. And pass in our token. Just like that. So this is not supposed to be in in those what do they call it, parentheses or something. It's supposed to be in curly braces. Token like that. So next is the content type. And this is supposed to be application JSON. So that's what we're going to return. A JSON data. JSON. Is that you okay? So we have our headers dictionary there. And then now we can do the request. So create an object for the request. So if we can just add a comment here, send the API request. So we're going to create an object called response. And here we're going to call now the package. Now we're going to utilize the package that we installed or that we need to make the request, and that is requests. It's supposed to be request.get, and then now we pass in the parameters. The first is the URL. Next should be the headers, and then headers, just like that. Next, we need to convert the return data into a JSON. So we're going to pass it into a JSON. So data, and then now we pass in JSON dot loads response out text. Just like that. And then now we can print the data just to see if we are getting something. So if we can just do print data to see what's going to be returned. So Python main.py, and then we run it, see what's happening. Okay, so we have something returned there. If I can just go and just try to scroll up. So we have that specific email return. So you can see that data there. You can see the email it came from. There we go. So that is the from address. It came from Crash Like Live email address there. So we can know that this is what we need. And I'm looking for as attachment. It's supposed to be true. You have also something is read, is false. I haven't read that email. So from here, guys, you can see we have what we need returned back. So we have that specific email returned, not all emails in our mailbox, but that specific email that we need based on the date that it was sent, the subject, and also the sender. Okay. So the next thing that we're going to do is we can try to get this data, maybe to grab the ID of that email. We're interested in the ID for that email because we're going to make other API calls, and also to make an API call to get the specific attachments, we need the email ID. So that is required. So the way we do that, we can just look up the what we have, so or the response that we have in our data. So it's very simple again. So we loop. So in normal cases, you might find that maybe a user can send us emails, or 2 emails or 3 emails that have the same subject. It was sent in the same date and also from the same sender. So if we need to grab all emails, You need to be able to grab all emails that was sent. So in other cases, you might find we have multiple emails matching the criteria that we have specified there, our filters criteria or format. So in order to grab all those emails, we need to look through each result that we have, and then we grab the message ID in those specific emails in order to get those attachments. So the way we do that is for, now this is loop in Python. So I can just add a comment and specify loop through each response. Or messages. The way you do that, it's easy. For the in data, and then there we grab in the value. So since it's a list, it's JSON, if you know how JSON looks like, some sort of JSON object, the way it looks like, they can a list, a Python list. So we're going to access it using the anchor. They call it the square bracket. Okay. Square bracket, not anchor. Sorry for that. So we can try to print the message ID like this. D again dot ID. So that should give us the message ID if we want to. And that is what we are much or we're interested, because we're going to construct a function that will do the download. So the function that is going to get the attachment, not the download, but we're going to construct a function that is going to get the attachment. And the function is going to take in two parameters. So we have a token, access token, and also a message ID. So the message ID is now, that's what you're seeing there. So if you want to get that, so I can just go back and rerun that file, and then we can get the message ID. So there we have an error. We can look into it. What is wrong? So it's saying value. Okay, I get it. So this I specified with caps, so it's sensitive, it's supposed to be in small. And clear the screen, and then we run the file again. And then we have the message ID. So we're going to use, so if it were more than one email, we'll have more than one message IDs returned here. Okay. So I can clear the screen, and then I can just I just need to create a variable called mess ID or message ID, like that. And then I can store that message ID in it, like that. We're going to use it when we create the function. Okay. So we're going to create the function here, and then now we are going to call that function inside the loop. Okay. So the name of this function, or the purpose of the function, again, is to get the email attachment. So function to grab attachment. So define get attachment, or you can just go grab get email attachment. Simple as that. It's going to take in two parameters. So access token is one of them. Next is going to be the message ID. Like that. And then it's going to take in a URL. So this URL is now the API call for the attachment. So we need to grab the API call to get the API call for that specific attachment. So I'm just going to copy paste what we have here, and then we do some few modifications instead of just typing the whole thing. And I can just copy this just from there, and I pass in there, just like that. Simple. We have mail user, and then we're going to add another one here. So under messages, we're going to add another /, and then we specify the message ID. So curly braces, and then you specify the message ID like that. The other is going to be /, and then our attachment. So that's how it's supposed to look like. So that one is going to be in quotes like that. So that is the URL to make the call to get the attachments. So it's supposed to be attachments. So as simple as that. Graph API, the version of the graph, users, the mail user, messages. I could have specified the mail user here, but I can just because it's a global object, the mail user, and then the message ID, and then we have the attachment. Next, I'm also going to define headers here. Authorization, same way. Actually, since it's the same thing, I can just do something like this. So instead of defining the headers again, I can just do response and then call in requests dot get. We make the call, the API call to get the attachment. Just a URL and then headers. I can pass in headers like that. Headers is a global object there, so it should pick automatically. Next, we need to return the response in a JSON format. So response.json, just like that. So we have a function to get the attachment, and then we have the API call and attachment. Actually, what I can do, I can just get rid of the access token here, and then we just remain with the message ID. Okay, so we just take a single variable message ID, and then we should be okay. We get an attachment. So once we have the function in place, now we can call it from the loop. Okay. So we're going to create a variable. So me just create here. Get attachment. So I'm going to create an object and call it attachment. Attachment. In there, I'm going to now pass in the name of the function that we've just defined there up, which takes in the message ID. And we have our message ID variable here. So if I can just add a comment, message ID. So we need to pass in the message ID just like that. So next, we can try to like print the attachment to see if you can get the attachment. So print attachments just like that, and then we see what we have, see if it is working or not. Okay, I can see that we only got the ID, the attachment ID. That is the attachment ID, if I'm not wrong. Is it what we want? This is a very big yeah. Okay, let's continue with our code and then we see if we're going to get what we need. So I don't know if I'm doing it right way, but just hold on. So if you can try to do for attachment in attachments, this thing might not work. But let's see what you're going to see. Value. And then attachment name. Attachment name. And then it's going to be attachment. And then we try to access that, the name of the file to see what you're going to see. And then now we can print attachment. Sorry, attachment name. This one. Attachment name, just like that. So if I can just run this and then see what we're going to see there. And there we go. So I know where this is coming from. We have it here. So I was right. So that's what we need to do. So it returns some sort of an ID. So we need to grab the value for the response that is returned by these functions. So the attachments, because it's an API call, we need the value of that API response that is returned. So since it comes in a JSON format, we need to grab the value key, and then we go again, we loop over through each attachment because the email might consist of more than one attachment. So we're looping through each attachment and then we grab the name of the attachment. So we can see there it's returning the way we want it. So we have the attachment that we send, we have the CSV file, and also we have the PNG file that is in the email. And that is the correct thing that we have here in my inbox. So you can see there we have the palms image and also we have that file. Okay, so that is working as we need it. So we can move next. Next should be now we construct a URL to make the call to download the files now. To do that, we need something else, which is the attachment ID. So each attachment has an ID. So when you're doing the request for the specific attachment, you need the ID for that attachment so that we can download the attachment. So I can also define attachment ID object there. And then it's going to be attachment its ID. Next, we're going to define the object or the URL for getting the URL that we're going to make the request to download the attachment now. So the way we're going to create that object, just going to call it download attachment. Might type in attachment incorrect. Attachment endpoint. It's also going to be f string. And then in quotes, we're going to call in, instead of just typing this, I can just copy paste this and then do some few modification. So I'm just going to copy this URL the way it is, actually the whole thing, and then just paste it there. So this one is going to take in message ID. So because we have this loop here, we need the mess ID. So mess ID, the message ID, and then attachment. We add another thing there, or another forward slash, and then now curly braces, we add the attachment ID. So I can add a comment here. Download URL request or call. So once we have our endpoint, we're going to define headers, specific headers for downloading the file. So headers text in authorization, f string, then we have bearer. curly braces, and then we pass in token. Token is a global object, so we shouldn't have issue with that. Next is the content type. So the content type that you're going to grab is supposed to be application /octet stream. So that is the header that you're going to use. It's supposed to look like that for it to work. So it's not again application slash JSON. So application slash octet stream. Once we have the header ready, now we can make the call or the request. So response, actually to separate these headers, I can just add an underscore there. Response, and then requests, sorry, dot get, we pass in download endpoint, and then we have headers equals to headers with underscore, like that. And then we have response there. We can do something like raise for starters, just to know if it was successful. That is optional actually. But where we are good because we're able to return those attachments in that email. Okay, so this is the API call. Now this request will download the file. This will now download the file, and we need to store it somewhere. So we're going to store it in our system in the current directory. So I'm just going to define. So it's going to dump those files in this in our current working directory. Currently it's empty. So to get the file or to save it there, we just add a comment there. Logic to store the file in current working directory. You can define your own custom path that you want to store the file if you want to. So in Python, we usually do with open. And then from there, now we pass in the first variable is supposed to be now the attachment name. I need it to come with the attachment name. And then WB as F. And then F, but right now we write it. Supposed to be a function response. What you're returning there, response dot content. Just like that. Simple as that. So we're going to save those files in our current working directory. And by that now I can just run the script again, and then you see what we have. So enter, and then we wait. And bang, we have the first file there. Actually, the two. We have the CSV automatically, and also we have the PAM, okay, the image. So we have the two files. So just to test it again, I can just delete that file, move to recycle bin, I delete this again, and then I just rerun my script again, and then we wait to see. Give it some time, and then there we go, the first file and then the second one. So we can confirm it. So guys, you can see how it is. It is easy to download files or attachments in email using Microsoft Graph API with Python. I hope you guys liked it. If you have maybe a comments or something that you want to point out, you can just let me know in the comments. So that's how it is. It's very simple and quick. Yeah, so it's like that. It's a simple. So guys, thank you for watching, and yeah, have a nice time.